Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Hello. How is everyone doing today? I certainly hope that those of you that are watching on the watching live right now, hanging out with us, thank you so much for being here. Those of you that are watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so that we know where you are and we can send you some love. I have on the stage today Miss Coach Marina. She has been through many struggles in her life, all of which had a greater purpose. Learning this has helped her grow and become a person who refuses to live in victim land. She wants that for you too. Her desire to share what she has learned through this journey is an intention to make an impact on others. With this, she aims to achieve results for her clients and create the best versions of themselves. She does this by sharing the powerful tools of radical forgiveness, Reiki and Breathwork. Love Breathwork. Yes. Marina is passionate about helping her clients release old stories and stuck emotions that no longer serve them so they can start their journey to freedom and harmony. How are you doing today, lady?
I am doing fabulous, Sabrina. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you. You know, it's so funny, the breathwork thing. I was just I was just listening to a podcast with Jay Shetty.
Yes.
I don't know if you know who okay, cool. So I was listening to this thing with the monks, you know, his whole backstory. He's like, the very first thing, he's like, I found out the very first thing that young monks, like young children monks or whatever, learn is breath.
Wow.
Because it's the first thing you get when you're born.
Mm-hmm.
And you have it all the way up until the moment that you die. So it's like the most important thing. When I heard that, I was like, I got to start working on my breath work.
You'll have to come to my next class. I'm having one in a week or so. So I would love to have you there.
I love it. Well, I thank you so much for, coming on, taking some time out of your day to sit down, chat with me, and learn a little bit about your backstory and where you've been and what you've done in order to get to where you are today. So one of the first things that I love to ask my guests, just to kind of start it off and jump into the deep end, is what is one of the biggest challenges that you've had in your life, and what did you learn from that challenge?
Great question. I would say, okay, so there's so many, right? And we can just go so deep. We can talk about so many things, but just an overlying theme, I would say, is just not to worry about what other people think. Because when I did that, it led me down paths that were not in alignment and where I probably shouldn't have gone, but they were all so magical because they've taught me so much in my life. And so I've followed many people, you get that gut feeling. You're like, I'm not supposed to do this, but this person who's better than me is telling me to do it, so I better do it. My mom is telling me to do it. My sister is telling me to do it, and all these things. And you start to doubt your own gut, intuition, whatever you want to call it. And then it starts leading you in all these crazy directions. And then you experience all those challenges over your life. And so that's kind of how I want to start with that.
I love it. When you say it leads you down a path of a bunch of challenges, what does that mean?
So for me, I always love to start with my story, right? So I was, had a parent that died at the age of 7, father figure. So no father figure. And that led me to the next step, which is, trying to get validated from my mom and her dealing with her own grief, not knowing how to handle that. So kind of being in her own world, which made me feel isolated and not validated. So then I went to search for love in all the wrong places, promiscuous teen, hanging with the wrong crowds, then wanting to take off and leave my hometown and run to the big city, which then I learned so many different challenges, life experiences, people taking advantage of me, all that stuff. Going there with this true desire to model and then become a nutritionist, and started to do all these things and never ended up doing them because I kept following people and situations that weren't great for me. And then eventually landed with my soon-to-be ex-husband, who stayed with me, because nobody else stayed with me. Everybody else took off on me. And then went through about 17 years of narcissistic abuse, potentially. I'm not a doctor to call it that, but that's what I feel like it was.
Yeah.
Which, was very challenging. And then having children and all of that to leading me to where I am today. And all of that crazy stuff led me to such a beautiful place.
Wow. Sounds like a very roller coaster-ish journey there. What was the biggest learning from all that?
To love myself.
Tell us more.
So we are, I always like to look at things from that spiritual big picture. That's just my nature. I grew up with a spiritual mom, a traditional dad, but my mom always brought some of that into me. And so I feel like I've always had a really strong faith, whether I followed a religion, followed a spirituality, whatever I did, I always had that faith, even in my darkest moments. But again, that self-doubt came in, who am I? I'm not good enough. All those limiting beliefs that we talk about. And so I truly didn't love myself. I, abused alcohol. I abused myself with food. I, took jobs and disrespectful bosses or friends that took advantage of me, boyfriends that took advantage of me. And so I wasn't loving myself and putting myself first. And so I learned that through this. And it brought me to this journey of self-love. And now I help other people with that, because if we can't love ourselves, life is just not, it's just so difficult. And so we have to know that we have to put ourselves first. And it starts with ourselves, like the self-love everything starts with ourselves. And there's no blaming anyone else. There's no blaming the situations, the circumstances. We have to stand in our truth, in our power, and in our love, in order to start creating amazing things in our lives. And until we do that, we'll just keep attracting the garbage.
Yeah, 100. I think that was one of the biggest, things for a lot of people. I know for me was acknowledging my doing in all of the mess and the decisions that I made. I also dealt with a narc partner,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of blame, living in victimhood for years.
Shame,
And
guilt, all that, right?
yeah. And then finally recognizing my doing, and where I could have left, could have walked out, could have stood taller, could have, and in order to better myself, but that took some real digging for me, because I loved sitting in I would have done it differently if it wasn't for,
Right.
So
I totally know. I'm right there with you, sister. Yes.
I love it. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about limiting beliefs. You mentioned
Mm-hmm.
limiting beliefs. I love talking about limiting beliefs. First, for those listening live or on the replay who maybe don't know, do you mind talking a little bit about what, in your opinion, a limiting belief is?
For sure.
And then what was maybe, one that we all have several, but one that stands out that you'd like to talk about that you had to turn around?
Totally. So I feel like a limiting belief is something that is there subconsciously and consciously, right? So it generally starts as a subconscious belief. And then as we go through life, we start to realize, oh, wow, maybe I am not treating myself the best, or maybe I am doing these things. And that's why I love the work I do. And I don't mean to keep talking about that, but it's just so connected to what we're talking about. So I'm very passionate about that.
Sure.
But one of the biggest ones for me that, I've done a lot of work, and there's been some that I really have healed, I really believe. But as long as we're on the earth plane, we're continuing to heal, learn, and grow. It's a schoolyard. We're never going to arrive, as I say. So one of my deepest limiting beliefs would be I am worthy. So I have healed a lot of that in terms of that self-love for myself, and like not allowing people to abuse me, setting boundaries, all that. But now I'm at the second phase, and that is bringing abundance into my life in all areas. So up leveling in that and continuing to work on that worthiness is where I'm at today, and what I'm going to continue to do. And serving other people to support them in that just helps my healing that much deeper, which is so beautiful.
It sounds like you've come a long ways.
I hope so. I think so. But again, lots more work to do. But yeah, it's a daily practice, and you get situations that present themselves that help you work through that. But the more you do it, the less you attract it. So that's the beautiful part about it. So I do see that progress. So I'm very grateful for that.
I think a lot of women can relate to that. I am worthy, and not feeling worthy for a lot of their younger years, all the way up until adulthood.
Absolutely.
Where do you think that stems from?
I think a lot of it is from childhood, when like for me, one quick example is so when my dad passed away at 7, the whole neighborhood gave us an album of pictures of all the parties and the gatherings and the neighborhood, and lovely pictures of him. And I was 7, so I saw a binder. And back in the 80s, you know what you do with the binder? You turn it into a sticker album. So I took out some of the pictures, and some of the pages I started writing titles like puffies, smellies, stickies, or whatever you wanted to call them, and started putting stickers in this beautiful momentum that they created for my dad. And I remembered a lot of my mom, being very angry in that moment and yelling at me and making me feel awful. And I feel like that in some ways, like, made me feel like what I did wasn't valuable. I wasn't valid in the moment. It also suppressed my creativity for many years, which I realized in my healing. And it's a very significant moment in my life I bring it up a lot. It comes up a lot in my healing. And I'm still talking about it because obviously it stemmed to that I am not worthy, because I did this and ruined everything, and I made a mess of everything, and I felt like crap about it, and everybody told me how wrong I was. So that was it.
So interesting. I have I have a son. He is 18, just turned 18 in March. And I know you have kids too.
Yes, 17-year-old and 14-year-old, 2 girls.
So how do I dealt with this too, like little things and not wanting to do that, or not wanting to suppress.
Right.
And, my son's now 18, and I feel like I did a really good job.
I think you did, based on your pictures. You guys look pretty amazing together.
Thank you. But I was always very careful with exactly that, not wanting to suppress his voice, not wanting to suppress his creativity. But I think there's a fine line between allowing your child to do, and then also disciplining them. I was pretty harsh with I was a single mom. So, I felt myself that I had to be, fairly harsh in some ways. It's not like I beat him or anything, but, I had very strict boundaries. My no meant no, my yes meant yes, like to this day. What is your thoughts on that, as far as how does a mother navigate not suppressing creativity?
Yes.
But then still disciplining? Like in your scenario there that you gave, what would have been a better way?
Yeah, so huge topic still comes up for me on a daily. So when I was in the narc relationship, it was harder to do the disciplinarianism because that's how I thought I would be with my children, based on how I was brought up. But because I had so much guilt and shame about what was happening in the home, I did less discipline than you did, I would say. So, and I'm still working on that and regretting that. So I really do feel there's that fine line. However, I am so grateful that I allow my children to be who they are. I have one that's highly sensitive. And so she just has to detach and be on her own and get energy breaks from people. And I have learned through the years to just kind of give her that space, not say too much. And, when I was in the relationship, still doing my work, I tried to have more control over everything. And so for me, what I've come to at this stage of my children's lives is every single soul has their own journey. Who am I to control that? They need to experience whatever it is they need to experience. And so I have to trust that I've shared the main important values that I have, and morals that they have, that underlying value system, that is so important. I need to be an example, showing them that I follow that, I believe in those values. And if they choose to do other things, I can't be in charge of that. I can't be in control of that, because there is a higher purpose to this and they need to learn something from that. And I try to encourage my friends who are moms who have younger kids that, because it's a really challenging thing, particularly when you love your kids so much, they're so young, you just want the best for them. Of course, I'm still working on it to a degree, but I've really let so much go, and it's so freeing. And the beautiful part of not having so much discipline and allowing them to be who they truly are is, once they have that foundation and you are that example and you do communicate to them like a human instead of do this, do that, they don't want to do the stuff. Like, my daughter hasn't had her first kiss. She wants it, but she hasn't had it yet. And she's not a nerd or anything. Like, she's a cute girl and it'll happen. But now she shifted her mind when she went into high school. I have to have my first kiss before grade 10. I have to go to a party. I have to drink. I have to do this. And she tried a drink, like she had a little drink one weekend and she did that. And now she doesn't really care about it because she got it out of her system. She tried to do all the things society told her to do, and they didn't resonate with her. So she's not being a crazy citizen out there that I'm all worried about. And the fact that I just came to them with that realness and, just meeting them where they're at, they saw challenges, talking to them about, this is what happened. If their dad does something or says something, I'm like, I understand why you're disappointed. I used to get disappointed. And unfortunately, that's part of why I had to leave. And so you'll have to figure out what works best for you, but you have to set that boundary, right? And so I'm kind of going a little bit all over the place, but to my point is, we can only control things so much. And so just trying to allow them to be who they are and trusting that they're going to be supported on their journey.
Yeah, for sure. You kind of tapped in right there a little bit in the beginning of that, as far as talking about your past with your partner and being maybe a little more lenient because you were trying to balance that out.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that your, the main, as far as your coaching goes, revolves a lot around forgiveness.
Yes.
So I kind of want to, put that together. How does what you've been through
Mm-hmm.
and what you teach now,
Mm-hmm.
where'd that come from? How have you forgiven yourself? What should we be looking to forgive ourselves?
So traditional forgiveness, right, is let bygones be bygones. Some people feel like that word just triggers them because they think it means they have to accept what that other person did.
100.
That it's, it was okay, and now I have to say it's okay and be Mother Teresa. That's not the reality. That's why what I teach is called radical forgiveness. So we do start off with the same premise. We come in with the victim. He did this to me. He did that. All the blame, all the stuff we're supposed to not do, because we need to bring it up to the surface and we need to heal it. So then when we do that, we connect with the emotion attached to that. But then we start to shift from that traditional forgiveness into radical forgiveness. And we start to separate what actually happened versus our interpretation based on our previous life experiences. And then we say, oh, wow, he was doing that to me because I was doing that to me. And then after that, we start looking at things very differently, reframing what actually happened, and then turning that around and actually thank you for being this teacher. Now I've identified my limiting beliefs. I see that I wasn't loving myself, so I attracted you. And it's such a beautiful thing. And then you release that and you let it just gets a sense of freedom. That's why I have freedom in my tagline, because it just gives you a sense of freedom. And like now when I'm triggered in traffic, what is that person teaching me? Like everything is a teacher. And it just you get the energy. We're human, we have egos, it's all going to come up again, but you just don't stay in that energy as long. And you look at yourself, okay, what do I need to still work on? What limiting belief am I still working through? And so that's how I was able to work through that with him.
Can you give us an example of what actually happened? Like, even if it's a pretend example?
In the marriage?
Like you said, you work through steps.
Yeah.
So first you start with the victim because that's where they're at. You go
Yes.
to connecting to emotion. I think that's what my handwriting says.
Feel the
And
feeling.
then talking about what actually what actually happened.
Right. So it's the radical forgiveness process. It's a worksheet we use. So once we get to that stage about the interpretation, when you start the process, I ask you to come with either a relationship or a situation that you're challenged with at the moment. So it could be as simple as I have a really toxic coworker at work, and every day they come and they're really passive aggressive to me on the lunch hour, and I can't even eat in peace. And they're just like at me and like doing these underlying digs nonstop. And so you look at that story and you're like, okay, what's really happening? Okay, this person is coming in and they're trying to piss me off. Okay, well, what is that saying to me? So what is it about them? Who are they reminding me of? Oh, so some of the examples, when we have a chart where it's examples. So grandfather died. That's just the fact of what happened, but I interpret it as he abandoned me. Right. So that's the difference. If you feel the energy difference in that,
Yeah.
right? And so she's literally just coming to talk to me, but I'm making something up in my head that maybe she is this crazy person, but maybe she is just asking me a question and that's just her style and it doesn't work with my personality. Or she's a beautiful teacher reminding me that I didn't heal what my ex-husband did to me a year ago. So
I love that. I love that, taking the emotion or the feelings out of it.
exactly. Because you've
Wow.
already brought the emotion in on the second stage. And then once you got past that and dealt with those and felt those, now you can start to move through it.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I I work with females who are still in narcissistic relationships and how to navigate through that. And one of the issues is getting caught up in your feelings.
Absolutely.
And how to respond to a narcissist when you're co-parenting or exiting and trying to figure out belongings or whatever, and learning to have a conversation without emotion or passive aggressiveness, just facts.
100%. And yes, I teach the same thing. It's
I love
so
it.
powerful. They don't respond. They can't do it. There's no charge there.
Yeah.
So I love that you're doing that. That's so powerful.
Super powerful. That's awesome. What does success mean to you?
Success means living in full alignment, doing what your heart desires, not following status quo, what somebody told you should do. And it could change, right? Just being in the moment, doing what feels right in this moment. And next year, it could be a totally different thing.
100. Do you have success in your life?
Absolutely. Yes. I'm so grateful for the amazing synchronistic opportunities and people that come into my life that are so in alignment with what I'm doing and my purpose at this moment. that it just gives me chills, and like I have to say wow and like pinch myself, because how did I connect with this person halfway across the world that's doing exactly what I'm doing and then hiring me to help them? Like, that's incredible.
I love that. When society thinks about success, a lot of times, I'm going to highlight females here because I feel like many females feel as if they are constantly chasing this finish line of success and
Yeah.
never getting there. They get to where they thought, and then it still is not. And so I want to ask, in your opinion,
Yes.
at what point are we good enough?
Today, in this moment, we're always good enough. All it means is that we're growing and evolving.
Yeah.
That's why we want to keep moving forward.
Yeah, 100. What would you wish for?
I would wish for, this is just where I'm at in this moment, but like full on sovereignty for all people, to just truly be who they are and to really like connect with themselves and understand that we are all one, even people that are not so nice or this or that. Like, if we come together, we service each other, we help each other, I really believe it can shift the world and the energy of the world and take money out of the equation.
Ooh.
Like, get rid of the whole financial system and go back to exchanging and bartering, and things are available to us.
What do you mean by the energy of the world?
I mean, have you felt denseness and heaviness the last couple of years? I certainly have. So I don't want to feel this heaviness anymore. I have a lot of work I do every day to try to shift that, right? And I just want to be in that and not have to think about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Talking with females who are struggling with forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
what would be your advice? What's your go-to couple of sentences for somebody who's having trouble forgiving their mother or their parents
Yes.
for maybe something that wasn't really correct?
I feel like people have to be ready when they get to that place where they actually have awareness of it, because sometimes people don't even realize it's connected to their mother or their parent. So that's the first stage for me. But when they do and they acknowledge, I just can't move through this, I feel number one is get yourself community and support.
Yeah.
Like-minded people. Most of the time, the universe provides you with people that went through the same experience. So you're going to be able to share and learn from each other.
Yeah.
Be gentle with yourself. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And ask. Ask people, ask out loud, ask whatever your higher power is, ask for help. Just say, I'm ready to let this go and move through this. Show me how I can forgive and move forward.
Why do you think we have such a hard time asking?
Because we forget. We get distracted by humanity, by the day-to-day, by the go, go, go. And we feel that we have to do everything. We feel we're weak if we don't ask. If we do ask, sorry, and we aren't doing it and figuring it out on our own.
Where does that come from, though? Like, why do we feel like we can't be? Why? Okay, first of all, it looks weak.
Yeah.
But like, even if it looks weak, and that is truth,
right?
What is the big deal with? We're women. We're already in society weak. Not necessarily, but so
Yeah.
what would be the issue? Who are we trying to prove? Why do we do that? I did this. Why did I do this?
Pride. not enough self-love, limiting beliefs, all those things we talked about. And you have to remember what women were like when all this began, right? And how we've been programmed and society has taken us further and further and further away from it. Feminism, women in the workforce, go and, have two jobs, take care of kids, then divorces, single parents. We just keep getting further and further away from our femininity and our essence of who we were created to be. So we forget
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I was just listening to something the other day where he was talking about, I don't know who, he was talking about how men who are not standing in their true, loving masculinity, is that the word?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, are not allowing females to stand in their loving, divine femininity.
100%. And why do you think there's so many narcissists? The women come in, they got to fix everything, they got to control everything. The man shuts down because he's completely wounded, has not addressed his trauma. And then there's this whole tug of war. And then it turns into this complete disaster. But then, those men, right? Everybody has one. It's generally an older man, perfect gentleman, treats his wife like a queen, waits in the store while she shops, gives her the pedicure. He is the most masculine man in the world, and she is the most feminine woman. And we all know one. And it's incredible. When I see that, I'm in awe. And I just feel like we do a lot of work as women. That's what we do. We want to heal. We want to go to retreats. We want to do events. But men, not so much. So I'm really passionate about incorporating some healing for men in the very near future, because I feel that they just don't have the outlets like women do, because it's not natural for them to just start sharing with each other.
Yeah. I also feel as if they maybe don't know because the role models for men
Totally.
have been
Totally.
all messed up. So because they're the head, we're then reacting towards, well, now I feel like it's shifted because so many men now, like I know with my son raised with as a female, has been raised a little more less, I don't want to say he's not masculine. I mean, he's a
Right.
boy.
Right.
Um but with that, you know,
Respect for women.
yeah, but it's not necessarily strong.
Mm,
It's not necessarily strong because there hasn't been a super strong role model to share what it means to like take care of a woman,
that makes sense.
so that the woman can relax
Yes.
in her femininity. So we're
Yes.
all wound up because we have to take care of the money, we have to take care of the house, we have to take care of the we have to take care of the family, we have to stay healthy. There's like
Totally.
so much on us
Hmm.
that like no wonder we're wound so tight.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. And so it'll be so interesting to see that generation.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's like a cycle, right? So they're coming with a more feminine way, with still being a male, right? And
Yeah.
and no judgment on any of that, but just what we're saying. And then, or is that going to shift, or every generation is it going to kind of maybe go back to what it was? I don't know. But I feel like they're more open to the healing work, and so maybe, and communicating and supporting partners. So maybe it's a new normal where they're going to be more balanced, and maybe through that they will find out what a woman really desires, and then maybe work through that as they become more mature and go through life experiences too. Who knows? But it'll be interesting to watch how that generation unfolds, because I don't think it's going to be the same as what we went through.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. So I'd like to hear more about, Coach Marina and what you do and who you help, and more about this forgiveness.
Sure. So I went to a retreat 5-6 years ago to help a friend. And long story short, I didn't know I was going to be participating in the retreat. And there I shared my story, little bits of what I talked about here. And during that time, my body was trembling and emotions were literally coming out of my body in the moment. And my voice was shaking. Emotion was coming out in front of 30 women. And I thought I was vulnerable and weak, but got feedback from them. You're powerful and strong. So that began this whole journey. And I was just, processing my relationship. It was around 2 years before, a couple of years before I left and made the decision. And so it was very big turning point in my life. And then as the universe does, when I got home, I wrote out a retreat. I'm like, I have to help people, but who's going to listen to me? Who am I? I'm a nobody. I'm not certified in anything. And then somebody had a post about radical forgiveness. I'm like, what's that? Looked it up. And I'm like, that's exactly what I just went through, and signed up and became certified. So that began this journey. And, as you're going through it, you're just like, I just want to help people. And then you start to do more healing and you start to work with clients, seeing what people need, what works, what doesn't work. And then as I did that, doors started opening to say, hey, do you want to do this Reiki certification? And then breath work is so powerful. And it's such a powerful tool to help people connect with what's going on inside without speaking. But again, another benefit and way to bring up old stuck emotions up out of the body. You get emotional reactions, physical reactions, so powerful. So it's led me where in my breath work, it's a little bit unique because I bring in self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others. So it's guided. So it's not like when I ask people, have you done breath work? Oh yeah, I do yoga. I've done breath work. It's not the breath work you do in a yoga class. It's very different and very intense. But it's so beautiful. And every time the common reaction is, what was that? I've never experienced anything like that in my life. Can I do it again?
Wow.
So it's really incredible. So I love the balance of like supporting with the body, because it's so important, right? Because those emotions and those stories, those old stories, get stuck in the physical body on the cellular level. And we don't realize that. So it helps to bring that out and to just, give more oxygen to the body. There's so many benefits of it. But I love my radical forgiveness work because I get to connect with people. I do a group session, I do one-on-ones, and I get to meet people where they're at. That's what I love about it, right? They don't have to come in and try to be something. They come in with that victim mentality. And they come in and just get to share if they want to swear, do whatever they need to do in that raw, safe space. And then we get to work through the process. And the transformation is incredible. The body work changes. The things start unfolding in their life. They stop attracting these situations. People like move away. Like all these really cool miracles start happening. And then they get what that really means, like forgiveness. But you don't think about forgiveness when we're doing the work. That's the beautiful part about it. Because like I said, a lot of people get triggered by that. So just come and see me if you have a situation or a relationship, and we'll guide you through using all those wonderful tools. And then Reiki healing is just aligning the chakras, getting our bodies back in balance, getting us in balance spiritually, and just allowing you to relax and get that self-love, just reconnecting with yourself, taking a pause from the day-to-day and the craziness. So that's just a little bit about what I do and how passionate I am about it. And I just love helping women who have gone through very similar experiences. And I always attract, like, that was another thing, right? When you lack the confidence to serve and to help, and you're like, who am I? And I got to be certified. The universe always supports you. They only give you people that you can relate to.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I love so much about empowering my friends and my clients and everyone to step into their power and share their magic with the world, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be spiritual.
Yeah.
But whatever you do, all women, we want to be all things, and we want to be these entrepreneurs and work from home and take care of our kids and do all this stuff. But we get so caught up in the details, and I need this title, and I need this certification, and I need that, and I need this. Just start sharing your innate ability, your magic, and you'll just take one baby step, start something, help one person, and you will be amazed at how things just start lining up for you.
I totally agree with that. Definitely. And that goes back to, are we good enough? It's
Right?
just like this constant. Yeah, it's this constant. Yes, definitely.
And you know
What
how I
is,
get through that, Sabrina? I just want to share this tip in case it can help one person, particularly someone who's newly starting a business. So, it was terrifying for me in the beginning to go on a video or to do a class online. I'm like, no, I'm an in-person person. I can't do this when we shifted to this remote world. And I just said, if I want to serve other people, I have to step up and do this. Right. So I just did it. So I did my first one was a breathwork class online in front of 200 women. So, you're nervous, you're excited, you're all these things. What I'm going to tell you is just trust your gut. Okay. So if you're nervous, like pause, take a deep breath, close your eyes, tune into your body. If you feel literally sick to your stomach, maybe it's not the right thing for you to do. Maybe you're not ready. Maybe it's not the right crowd. But if you just have like a little bit of butterflies and a little bit of excitement, and you're like uncontrollably calm just before it starts, which is kind of weird, you're in the right place and you're doing the right thing. So go for it and do it. And you'll just keep doing more and more.
it's good. I love it. Absolutely. What's your big dream for your business?
To own a retreat center.
Where?
I'm open at the moment. It's Mexico, but I may want one in a few different locations
I love it.
eventually. Yeah.
I love it. What would be the overall premise?
Yeah. I literally just want a safe space where people can come and just be, have support, be able to share, be their authentic selves 1000%, and heal and get nurtured and taken care of. And it's a place that you just know when you come in, you're home and you're supported. Like people just lack that comfort, and they don't, they are searching and they're trying, but I just want people to come and just breathe and just be who they are. That's all I want.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure. Well, it was so great spending some time with you. I so appreciate it. I want to give a shout out to those that are watching live right now. Thanks so much for hanging out with us and listening to Coach Marina and all the goodness that she was sharing today. Do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
I just want to thank you. Honored to be here. So grateful for the opportunity, Sabrina. What you're doing is absolutely incredible. Keep doing it. Keep attracting these fabulous women. Keep sharing. Someone is going to hear something that's going to resonate, and it could make a big change in their life just in a a few sentences that could really make a shift. And it's so powerful. I'm so passionate about women sharing their stories because it changed my life, and I know it can change theirs. So thank you again for having me.
100. Where can people find you on social media? Where are you most active?
I would say Facebook. I'm on Coach Marina, Facebook.Coach Marina. All my links are below in all the threads, I think. But I know it's just Coach Marina. I'm on Instagram, and my website, of course, coachmarina.ca. I'm located in Canada. So, for now.
I love it.
My website, my email's there. So please feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. I offer a monthly membership where it's a safe, supportive group, and we get together, do a women's circle, share our story, share what's going on with our life. I teach some of the concepts of all of the fun things that I offer. And I always have a fabulous guest speaker teaching some new trick up their sleeve, like a really cool modality. So we're doing like crystal grids and altars this month. So it's really exciting.
Fantastic. I love it. Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. For those of you watching live or on the replay, reach out. Her social media is in the description below. So click away, connect, reach out, direct message, check out our website and all of that goodness. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. You have a fabulous rest of your day, my dear.
Yes, yes. So thank you so much for joining us here on Her Version. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. If you have an amazing story to share of struggle to triumph, be sure to reach out to me here or at herversion.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I am so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others.